Hey comic fans, Dave here at Ground Zero. It's Wednesday morning. That means it is time for your weekly look at what's new on the shelves at your favorite local comic book store. Now, this is the final week of September, and I always enjoy the last week of the month more than any other. One reason is because that is the week we get the latest issues of both Action Comics and Detective Comics. Now, these are the books that back in the 1930s kicked off the entire industry and together pretty much invented the superhero genre that we know today. So when you come in and pick one up, you are continuing in a tradition that goes back more than 70 years. And for that matter, if you come in and pick them up but decide to buy something else, you are still continuing a tradition that goes back more than 70 years. So kudos, you can't lose either way. So if you decide to pick something else up, well, even DC has other alternatives, including Deathstroke Incorporated. This is the newest and latest Deathstroke series. In it, he is joined up with the Transparent Researchers United for Strategy and Technology, which conveniently spells out trust. I'm sure that is just a happy accident and not the least bit intentional. Either way, this book is in. I read this last night. It's kind of fun. It actually is definitely going for a little bit of a Deadpool vibe, maybe not quite as wacky, but either way, Deathstroke definitely has a large fan base, and they'll be happy to know his new series has started now. Two more books that I will mention, at least from DC. One of them is the third issue of Superman, Son of Kal-El. Tom Taylor is doing a really good job with this series. It's not a kid-oriented title, but it's actually perfectly appropriate for younger readers. Older readers can share it with their younger fans. I like that. I think we need more books like this on the stand, so kudos to DC. We need more books like this. One more that I will mention, that is the second printing has finally come in of Batman Urban Legends number 6. Now, I've been pumping Batman Urban Legends for quite some time. I really like the Batman family vibe to it, but this issue just sold out as fast as it hit the stands because it made the news. It was kind of a thing. So if you missed getting a copy, you can complete your collection now with the new second printings that have come in. Or if you actually got a copy and you just want the extra to get the cool black and white cover, well, there is that too. Meanwhile, Marvel would like to remind you that they have also been publishing comics for a very long time, and the closest thing they have to Batman is Spider-Man. Well, now we get issue number 75 or 875, depending on what numbering you prefer to use, of The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, this is Cy Spencer going out with a bang. It is a $9.99 triple thick issue where he ties up a lot of loose ends, all sorts of plot threads, just does a bunch of big, important stuff. So everybody will want to read this book because this is the final issue of Amazing Spider-Man. I'm sorry, final issue until next week when issue number 75 comes out. But for 7 days, this is the final issue of Amazing Spider-Man. So let's revel in that while we can. More books from Marvel? Well, yes, of course there are. This one I think is even more amazing. This is Amazing Fantasy number 3. It's kind of an Elseworlds miniseries. Of course, they can't call it Elseworlds because DC does Elseworlds, but this is the closest thing to it. It's taking a good handful of traditional Marvel characters and throwing them in an alternate universe with all sorts of monsters and sci-fi neatness. Either way, it's here. I think it's worth buying for that cover alone. That is amazing. I love the retro sci-fi feel. I really kind of like this book. We need more fun comics. So thank you, Marvel. We also get Extreme Carnage Omega. Now, this is a one-shot, but if you read the fine print, it's also part 8 of 8. So apparently, as of now, this book is extremely over. Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to saying that. It's about time. Either way, what are we going to do without a big, massive Marvel crossover? We'll never know because they already have another one hitting the stands. That is Inferno. Jonathan Hickman's X-Men universe all comes to a head in this series. So what's it about? Yeah, I don't have the faintest idea. I had neither the time nor the interest to read this, but apparently, according to the cover, it's about a girl who refuses to partake in nap time, I guess. Which is really a shame because these people look like they're really comfortable and enjoying their naps. And that's the best I got. What can I say? Dave loves his naps. Moving over to the indie books, that's where our heart is these days. We get Crossover has returned. Donny Cates took a break for an issue or so, and then it seemed like it was just weeks and weeks before the next one came out. Either way, it is finally here. This book is really meta. If you're a comic fan or a fan of comic tropes and industry stuff, this is really cool. I like this book, so if you're not reading it, you should be. Crossover from Donny Cates and Image Comics. Also, we get the second and I believe final issue of the Lock and Key Sandman crossover. I love Lock and Key. Of course, everybody loves and should be reading Sandman. This is a fantastic book. Although, actually, I got to admit, I loved the first issue of this. I do remember that, but I don't remember what it was about because it was like 20 years ago. Either way, I know when I read it, I was looking forward to the next issue when it eventually would come out, and it eventually now is finally out. So if you actually remember what happened in the first issue, hey, the second issue is in. It's on the stands this week. And now my pick of the week, because this is the book actually I was most blown away with when the first issue came out, Echolands from Image and J.H. Williams III. I tell you, if you read a lot of fantasy, you'll recognize a lot of the fantasy tropes in the story, but it doesn't matter. The art is absolutely stunning. And I don't use that word lightly. This art is stunning. J.H. Williams just has outdone himself with this book. It is incredibly imaginative, bright, vibrant, colorful. This is just everything you want in cool comics art. So if you haven't given this series a try, just pick up a copy and thumb through it. I think you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Either way, I love what they're doing with this book. It's a joy just to sit and look at, even if you're not reading the words, and there are words too. So either way, Echolands #2 from Image Comics and J.H. Williams. This is the prettiest book on the stands this week, and may actually be the prettiest book all month. That's a fact. Trades. Yes, let's move on to the trades. First off, from Boom, we get Berserker. Keanu Reeves says, come on, people, you love me so much you'll buy a book even if I don't put vowels in the title. Yeah, I found it kind of pointless, but it is super hyper violent and everybody loved that. So if you like super hyper violent books, well, Berserker is your cup of tea. Or blood, or whatever your cup has running over with. Vault Comics. Vault Comics is really quietly becoming a player for really hot comics these days. So we picked up a couple of trades that have just come out. The Devil's Red Bride and Autumnal. So, this actually is a pretty cool one. This will actually make you fear the changing of the seasons. Luckily for us here in Texas, we don't have a change of seasons. But if we did, we would fear them after reading this book. Two more books now from Image Comics that I will mention. You notice I'm not mentioning any Marvel or DC trades, just the indies. That's who we're talking about today. First off is The Good Asian. This is a series we weren't going to give a whole lot of try to, but apparently got really, really good reviews. It was pretty acclaimed, so now you can see what all the fuss is about in this convenient trade paperback of The Good Asian. And the final one is Ha Ha. What can I say about this book? This book was just blowing off the stands when we got it in. It's a collection of short stories, all largely featuring clowns and largely terrifying, very much in the vein of Ice Cream Man, same author. So really, if you love that series, and a lot of you do, you definitely will want to pick this one up. Well, folks, wow, we are definitely going to end up under 10 minutes, so cookies for everybody. I will leave it as I usually do. Remember, folks, it is not about having what you want. It's about wanting what you have. So please, people, for a little longer, be safe and visit your local comic shop. Have a great day.